So you're in a group conversation and someone says, like for the third time, like, sorry, what did you say? Or people maybe just start talking over you like you weren't even speaking. Here's something interesting that I never hear anyone talk about. You probably already know how to speak louder. You might think you don't know, but you could speak really loud if you were all by yourself, right? If you knew 100% that no one heard. So it's not that you can't, it's the social pressure of the situation that is almost making it physically impossible to speak up. Today, I'm sharing 8 specific things that have helped our members here at SocialSelf speak up without feeling awkward doing it. So number 1 is that your quiet voice is actually a safety strategy. So many of us aren't just naturally quiet. We're quiet on purpose without even realizing it. Speaking softly becomes this unconscious habit we develop to protect ourselves. Maybe you're trying to avoid attention, or we're worried about being judged, or we just don't want to seem pushy. Think about it. When was the last time you deliberately lowered your voice? Maybe it was when you didn't want to interrupt someone, or when you weren't sure if your comment was worth sharing, right? So here's what you can do. Start noticing those moments when you make your voice smaller, and just notice them and ask yourself, what am I protecting myself from right now? And when you see the pattern, that's when you can start to change it. Which leads us to what feels too loud to you is actually just right. So we often think that speaking louder means being aggressive or annoying. But here's the thing. What feels way too loud in your head usually sounds perfectly normal to everyone else. Let me give you an example. Remember the last time you heard your voice on recording? It probably sounded different than you expected, right? The same thing happens with volume. So try this. Record yourself speaking at 3 different volumes, what you think is quiet and normal and too loud, and then play them back. And I bet that you felt that too loud when you were speaking actually sounds just normal. And in a loud environment, what feels like screaming to us is normal to others. And this simple exercise can completely change how you think about your voice volume. And 3, speaking louder is about courage, not skill. So a lot of quiet speakers think that they don't know how to speak louder, like it's some technical skill that they missed learning. But that's not really true. You know how to speak louder. You do it when you're alone in your car singing along to music, or when you're calling your dog from across the yard. The real issue isn't skill, it's permission. You haven't given yourself permission to take up that space with your voice. So instead of treating this like something you need to get right, think of it as building up courage reps. Set yourself small challenges to use a louder voice in low-stakes situations. Order yourself coffee a bit louder. Say thank you to the cashier with more volume. Answer the phone with more energy. These little practice runs add up. So ask yourself right now, are you willing to give yourself permission to speak up? And 4 is that it's good to give your voice a warm-up, just like athletes warm up. Have you ever noticed how your voice is super soft at the beginning of a party or a meeting, and then maybe it gets a bit stronger as the night goes on? That's not because you're naturally quiet. It's because your voice hasn't had a social warm-up. Think about athletes. They don't just jump into a game cold. Your voice works the same way. If you've been quiet all day and then suddenly need to speak up in a meeting, of course it's going to come out weak. Here's a simple fix. Warm up your voice before social situations. Talk out loud to yourself for 2 or 3 minutes before you walk in. Read something aloud in your car. It sounds silly, but it works. It sets the baseline. Your voice will already be on when you need it. And if you want to, you can do voice training, and there are other videos for that. Here in this video, we'll talk about the mental part of it. And number 5 is that a quiet voice can accidentally signal low status. So this is a tough one to hear, but it's important. In group settings, people unconsciously assign lower status to those who speak quietly. It's not fair, and it's not about how smart and nice you are. It's just an automatic social cue that our brains pick up. So picture this. Someone is speaking quietly while looking down. To everyone else, it looks exactly like they're just maybe thinking out loud to themselves. No one else was even supposed to hear it. So people interrupt, not to be mean, but because they genuinely don't realize the person is trying to contribute to the conversation. So practicing vocal projection isn't about dominating the conversation or being the loudest person in the room. It's simply about making sure that your ideas get heard because you have things worth saying. Number 6, your first words set the volume for everything else. So here at SocialSelf, we have something we call anchor phrase technique. Your first few sentences in any interaction set your volume baseline. If you start too quietly, it feels really awkward to suddenly speak louder later, right? But if you start with a good volume, then you can adjust naturally throughout the conversation. So prepare 1 or 2 sentences that you always use to start your interactions, like, "Hey, how's your day going?" or "Good to see you." And practice saying them louder than what feels natural. And notice what I say here, not just louder, but louder than what feels natural, because what does feel natural will most definitely be too quiet. And make those first words count. And then after you establish your position in the group with good volume, you can actually be quieter later if you want to, but those first words, make them heard. And 7, eye contact makes your voice disappear. This is fascinating. Many people can speak perfectly loudly when they're alone, but the moment they make eye contact with someone, their voice shrinks. So eye contact triggers self-consciousness, which makes your throat tighten up. If this happens to you, here's a strategy. Practice speaking loudly while looking just past people at first. Look at their eyebrows or their forehead or behind them. And it's close enough that they think that you're making eye contact, or maybe, I'm talking like this, like I'm just thinking, but it feels less intense. And as you get more comfortable with your louder voice, you can gradually make more direct eye contact. And 8 is to ask yourself, what is the belief that is holding you back? So ask yourself, what's your belief that's holding you back from speaking with a loud voice? When we talk to our members and we tell them to be brutally honest, it's usually one of the following. They feel like they're not worthy of taking up space. They feel like they would be rude or obnoxious if they talk too loud. Or they feel like they say something embarrassing. It would be worse if they have a loud voice. So to speak, everyone notices the mistake more. So what is the belief holding you back? When you find it, ask yourself, do you want to keep allowing this belief to hold you back? And if yes, okay, sure, you don't need to watch this video. But if you're ready to allow yourself to speak up, you can choose, as a choice you have, to not listen to that voice. And remember, you're not trying to become the loudest person in the room. You're just giving your ideas the volume that they deserve. If you're serious about improving your people skills and are tired of generic advice like just be yourself that sounds good but makes things more confusing, then join our training on the link below, where I go much deeper into what we talked about here. Because having a voice that gets heard, that's just the beginning of building real confidence in social situations.